look all right for the world here.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So you can just let her know that we've let her in so that we could get to Facebook Live.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to go off camera and off
right.
sound.
Okay. Well, she's here already.
Yeah, I think she's in.
Hi, Asha. Hi. Are you? Can you hear us?
Here, do this. Asha?
Asha, can you hear us?
Go more and see. She's got her. Hello, Asha.
So she's connecting to audio, but you guys are, we are live now.
Hello, Asha.
Hello, we are live. We are live.
So she's connecting to audio, but you guys are, we are live now.
Okay.
Hello, Asha.
Hello, we are live. We are live.
So she's connecting to audio, but you guys are, we are live now.
Okay.
Hello.
Let's admit two more.
Yeah. Leilani and
Leilan and
Good morning.
Winning.
hi.
And Asha, you hear us too? Leilani.
Hi.
Alani and Nilam. Hi, David and Maureen here.
Yeah.
So to welcome you to another amazing session
With
of
Mynoo.
Mynoo.
Asha here.
Yes.
Tonight's going to be about living foods. That's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Living rather than
Rather than
dead.
not living. Living foods.
Right.
You know, you eat the right foods, you live longer.
Yes.
It's a good name, right? Living
Yes.
foods. So
Yes, one of our friends' fathers just passed. He was 107. 107. And he was eating lots of living foods.
So okay, is there anybody
So-
else we have to let in here?
Yes, I think so. So we've known Mynoo for a long time.
A long time.
Not as long as some of you, perhaps.
It's been our greatest pleasure.
Yes.
Mynoo is such a beautiful spiritual sister.
And who is
Oh, thank you so much. My beautiful souls, thanks for hosting. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So
Hello.
Mynoo is not with us. And
Yeah,
we were sharing that we'll be talking about living foods tonight and how powerful that is for our existence, for our thriving in our lives.
To thrive.
great. So let's begin. Thank you, David and Helene, for hosting us and for all that you do in the world.
So,
Let's look at how living foods can support you to be able to have even greater vibrant vitality in the work that you bring out into the world.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, my dear.
And remember, you're representing an archetype of humans. So
Right.
if there's anything that comes up for you to share or to ask as I'm transmitting what's coming through, then please, interrupt and we'll address it as soon as a point feels right to do so.
Absolutely.
That sounds
Thank you
good.
so much for the
Okay.
privilege.
Okay, so living foods. And we are here talking really about the circadian set points. This is an aspect of the human miracle, which is where we are focused on the building blocks that make up our human body and how we can work with each of these building blocks so we sincerely and genuinely enrich the vitality of this human body. And I talk about the circadian rhythm And this is the second of the seven circadian rhythms that we will be working with. We've already done the work on one of the circadian rhythms. Now we're going on to the second one, which is living food. Circadian, it's usually applied in the context of a biological process, which is a rhythm of something that occurs naturally in a 24-hour cycle. It occurs naturally, and it occurs naturally without fluctuations. And when it occurs naturally without fluctuations, biologically, we are in a good, healthy space. If the fluctuations occur, and the circadian, the natural cycle of the natural biological cycle, like a clock, gets interrupted or interfered with, we have a whole collection of issues and problems that impact a human body. And they could be physical, they could be mental, they could be emotional, they could be, disconnection from our spirit, so spiritual. And that often impacts our social dynamics. And that, again, has an impact on the environment within us and the environment outside us. There are a whole collection of ways in which this rhythm can be interrupted. It could be to do with environmental factors. It could be to do with how you're feeling emotionally. But more importantly, I'm focusing very much on the physical ways in which, even if you're emotionally distraught or disconnected from spirit, you can correct the circadian set point, synchronize the 7 circadian set points, and return back to being whole and complete. It's a very powerful understanding of how physically we can transform all aspects of our existence and harness the miracle of being human again. So let's look at the first blessing that is hidden in living foods. And each of these blessings are there for us to have and enjoy. And you can literally use these blessings to make this particular set point be in complete harmony within itself, and therefore play its role in synchronizing all of the 7 circadian set points. So the first one is to do with life. Life, as many of you who've done my work know, I talk about life is a state in which an organism is breathing. How you choose to live your life is what makes you come alive. So the first circadian first blessing hidden within living foods is the gift of life itself. We already have the gift of life. The fact that we can choose the foods that we are about to ingest. And when we are ingesting living foods, we are further enriching the vitality of our own life. So in this aspect, how do you harness this blessing? You really get into looking at what proportion of the food that you eat is living. What constitutes living food? So, there's a whole strata of amazing people who believe in raw food. And I had an amazing teacher, Giuliano's is his name, and he had this fabulous restaurant in Santa Monica. And he was my teacher of raw cooking, or raw uncooking. So it's not that you don't have warm food, you do, but you just don't cook it above 115 degrees Fahrenheit. And that could be done through using sunlight or a dehydrator if you are indeed going to cook it. And it can also be done through using a high horsepower blender like a Vitamix to make soups and things like that, which doesn't kill the enzymes in the foods. Foods usually retain the minerals. It's the digestive enzymes and the vitamins that actually get destroyed when you cook them. So if you wish to enrich and enhance the blessing of vitality to the life that you already have, then ensure you have at least, a good chunk of living foods where the minerals, the enzymes, and the vitamins are not destroyed. And that comes from raw foods. So there's a way in which I ask people to work with this, and I did it myself, where I say from time to time, empty out all your larders and your fridge and your freezers. But certainly larders. And anything that's in a packet, you put it to one side. And that packet food, and it could be long preserved bottled foods as well. Classify them as dead foods. And it's quite a shock to your system when I ask people to do it, because I did it the first time and I was quite shocked how much I had in the way of dead food. And in my case, it was almost like 50-50. A lot of living foods in the fridge and also just in terms of fruit baskets and stuff. But there was still a lot of stuff that came from a packet. So, if you are taking on, and what I suggest is, if you're embarking on this synchronization of your circadian set points, and living foods is something that you're going to be working with, then you could just take it on for a week and just have a week where, 90% of your food is living foods. And there's no reason why it can't be 100%, but it's up to you. Take on 90% at least for 1 week and see the transformation you feel in your vitality. And you feel the transformation because of all of these 7 blessings that I'm about to share with you. And the way I suggest that people can work with this is, you can have up to 12 in the afternoon. Just stay on living foods. And you could, and I do this for myself, you can literally focus your attention on having fruits. And have one fruit at a time, not a mixture of fruits. In this human miracle, we've done a whole series on foods. Here I'm talking mainly in the context of the circadian set points. So up to 12, if you only have fruit, then you have, and I'm saying have one fruit at a time. So if you're having one fruit, then give half an hour before you have the second fruit. And if you can't give half an hour, give at least 10 minutes. Now, really what we're doing here is re-invoking a remembrance of your digestive system on how it can work with the digestion of different types of foods. So you begin your day with a rich collection of vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, as well as enzymes. And the thing is, when you're eating living foods, you can't just swallow them. You are called to chew them somewhat. So that act in itself reactivates your pancreas first thing in the morning. So the foods that you are actually ingesting have got even more added digestive enzymes coming from your pancreas. Having only fruit up to 12 actually allows your digestive tract to be very nicely cleaned up with all the fiber that's contained in them. So I'm not just saying fruit juice, I'm saying fruit. Then for lunch and dinner, divide what you eat into 2 plates. Plate 1 and plate 2. And always, always, always begin with plate 1. And plate 1 is raw foods. If you have difficulty digesting completely raw foods, then you can very lightly blanch them or saute them. When you saute any vegetables, add the oil on the top if you must. Otherwise, steam them. But make sure whenever you cook vegetables, cook them without salt and sprinkle salt on top. Because when you cook something with salt in it, it actually releases the vitamins and they get destroyed with the heat. Minerals still remain, enzymes are gone, vitamins are destroyed largely. So with living foods, it's important to have a good collection of living foods that still is completely alive in its vibrancy. Plate 2 is where you can have cooked food. And the way to do it is have plate 1 will be at least 60, possibly even 70% bigger than plate 2. And the reality is, when you do this, when you're having raw salads, you can't just swallow a salad. You really are called to chew it. So what you're doing here is it's literally as if you've created, you've cleaned out that whole track and you've reawakened your entire digestive system to be able to digest. Digestive system performs 3 functions. You ingest, you absorb, and you excrete. So because the digestive system works on all 3, then your absorption mechanism that enables you to absorb the nutrients, absorb the energy, absorb the vitality that the food that you're having is meant to give you, is all activated. Excretion means your excretory system also gets reawakened and has a good chunk of time to prepare itself. When you have living foods in this way, then you're also reawakening and rekindling the microbiome population in your gut and in your mouth. So your teeth health, your gum health, and the health of your entire terrain, which is this human body, is transformed because you're now no longer deprived of microbiome. So sometimes when we have to take antibiotics, they do damage the probiotics in our body, and it causes a whole variety of problems for us, including increasing the fungus presence in our bodies. By having living foods in this way, then prebiotics get formed, and it is a good presence of healthy prebiotics that enables the probiotics to become perfectly harmonized with exactly what you require. Also, yes, you can take probiotic pills or powders, but probiotics are so delicate that when they get into the stomach region, the acidity in the stomach does destroy a large chunk of probiotics. Prebiotics are very important, and prebiotics are best had from living foods. So what I've done for myself now actually doesn't exist in my kitchens anymore, but I did it for the longest time. where if I had to have packaged foods for guests or for anyone, like crackers and things like that, I would put it into a cupboard with a small little label, dead food. So if I'm choosing it, I choose it very consciously. And when you do choose consciously from your dead food cabinet, you actually will ensure that there's more than enough living foods to go with it. So by eating this way, you ensure that you're actually getting a good amount of living foods. So you can enjoy your cooked food, and you've prepared your terrain so it actually gets digested much more easily. And then if you must have dinner as well, then again, make sure that the dinner is the same, plate 1 and plate 2. And if you can manage it, then at dinner, just have a soup or a broth with some living foods, and they could be salads or lightly blanched vegetables. We're actually going to do the circadian rhythm of time or timing. At that point, I'll talk about what is the best time to eat these living foods so they actually perform the function that they are here to perform. So the first blessing is the blessing of revitalizing life itself, the gift of life. And I've shared with you something that I do to support me. There are times where I might just have liquids and nothing else, just to allow anything that has accumulated in my body to get properly digested. And from time to time, I would do a liver cleanse, an organ cleanse, basically. So I'm about to embark on a liver and a kidney cleanse, a 7-day program for myself. In which case, the living foods are not in, I fast, I stay on a liquid fast. So I usually have the living foods in the form of a juice. And I avoid having fruit juice because it tends to be too sweet when I'm on a fast like this. But this is not a session on that. So the first blessing is life itself. The second is fire. Fire as an element. There are 5 elements that are essential to be in harmony in our environment, outside of us and within us. And fire is one of those elements. Its role is to destroy that which doesn't serve you. And in its destruction, it doesn't increase the amount of debris in your body. It, in fact, transmutates it into a new state. So, having living foods, because you land up chewing a lot, and then the combination of the foods that you have can support you to activate or invoke and activate both the fire element in your body. And that activation of that fire element in your body starts to destroy that which doesn't serve you. And that could be microbes. That could be other pathogens. And it is the fire element that is getting activated, and that is what is doing this action. And then as it transmutates to a new state, you can actually apply your conscious awareness to embark on a state of flow. Flow in in terms of whatever it is that you may be engaged in life, being able to flow with it. Now, if you're eating a dead food, then there'll be some activation of the fire element just simply by the act of eating it, because you do get warmed up from inside. The quantum of the lack of living foods doesn't give you the full benefit of the fire element. So as a result, if you're eating stuff that may carry with it microbes or pathogens, then you don't have the benefit of the destruction of those that doesn't serve you. So to avail the fullness of the blessing of fire, the activation of the fire element, so that naturally your body continually works with your terrain to keep it free from anything that doesn't serve you, it is important to have a sufficient quantum of living foods. There is an actual measure of that, which I don't have sufficient evidence on it yet. Just still testing it out. Then I'll be able to share it. I just want to check in with you, David and Helene, because I can continue, but it would be great to hear if there's anything that you wish to observe or any questions that are arising for you. And if any of you who's listening, if you have questions or observations, just put them in the chat.
Well, I'm finding this to be tremendously informative because, you know, over the years, we have always been, conscious of the importance of eating properly. And I feel like this is like very informative and scientific and coming from, of course, from spirit, you know, and of course it's making so much sense.
And
So-
people are not taught this in school or
That's for
you know,
sure.
the education is really opposite of this. So it's
Yeah.
very challenging.
Mm.
Only
Uh,
because people aren't used to it, you know.
Right. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of resistance to this kind of eating.
Yeah, actually, once you understand the context of it, then you can make a conscious choice that, okay, it's going to be a cheat day for me, or it's going to be a cheat weekend, fine. But you'll always return back to it, you know. Big chunk of your week will be about eating this way.
I'm gonna start changing my way. Like I
Yeah.
like the idea of the morning, having fruit in the morning, you know, and giving,
Yeah.
because yeah, especially if you're doing like intermittent fasting, if you don't eat, you know, for like 12 hours before that, and then you kind of like introducing your digestive system slowly, you know, to slowly
Yeah. Yeah.
build it up.
Yeah. So, you know, the comment about condiments, pickle in condiments, you know, they are living foods because they've not been cooked as such. And at the most, you would have put them into latent sunlight to mature. So they are still living foods. And the thing is, the pickles themselves have got, you know, so much salt in them sometimes that you don't eat too much of them. Naturally, you don't eat too much of them. So it's totally fine. But just remember that because of the salt, if you're salting your pickles, which you do, that's a way of pickling, of any kind of pickles. You know, Indian pickles have spices in addition to the salt. Then it's rich in minerals. The fermentation of the pickles is where the enzymes still remain. But the salting of it actually allows the vegetables to retain the minerals, and you don't necessarily have the fullness of the vitamins that that particular vegetable has. you can get enzymes from the fermentation of it.
And,
So it's
what about
it's fine. Say again?
kimchi?
Yeah, that's a pickle.
Right.
You know, again, you won't have so much of it. You won't have a, you know, you can have a plate full of raw salad, and there'll be a little bit of pickle. You just can't have too much of it.
Not like you have
So-
pickles for lunch, you know.
Yeah, you can't have a plate full of pickle. You know, having a little bit is great. And adding to that the raw vegetables means, you know, your prebiotic quota is so good that your microbiome multiplies quite nicely. So yes, please keep putting your chat, your comments and observations in the chat as well. So I'm going to continue, David and Helene. The third blessing that is hidden in living foods is the blessing of Mother Earth. So living foods are very, very beautifully connected to Mother Earth. Even if it is hydroponics grown, there is a natural connection to Mother Earth when you have this food. So as a result, living foods anchor trust, the frequency of trust in you. They anchor confidence, where you put a stake in the ground. So that is what the power of the element of earth is. Giving you that confidence to put a stake in the ground and declare what it is that you stand for. It grounds you powerfully and beautifully. So if you're feeling really, you know, expanded and up in the air and lots of stuff going on, eating something lights up your fire, destroys that which doesn't serve you, and earthing brings you back into your center. If you're only, for example, having, you know, non-living foods, earthing element would still happen a little bit, not as much as your body requires in terms of having a synchronized circadian set point. So as a result, you land up absorbing the emotion, for example, in the animal that you might be eating at the time at which that animal was letting go of life. So you land up absorbing the energetics of what you're eating on your plate. Living foods have their own vibration. Cooked food also absorbs the energy of the chef or people that have prepared the food. Because its own vibrancy is diminished or depleted. So you land up absorbing that for yourself. What I'm saying here is that each of these that I'm sharing are the blessings that are hidden within living foods. And you can have the benefit of these blessings. And you can also bless the food that you're eating and add to it your own blessings. And that can neutralize somewhat the vibrations that the food may naturally carry. So when I'm having cooked food, my blessing is a bit more intense and deeper because I'm vibrationally clearing out that food. As some of you know, I was guided to do a collection of paintings, and these paintings restructure water, like they deprogram water. And they restructure water sometimes to give it vitality, to destroy pathogens, to, you know, reconnect us to a remembrance that this human body had when the soul being occupied it. So I sometimes carry a tiny little bottle with my structured water. So sometimes I might just spray the food that I'm having with a few squirts of my structured water. And that helps. You create your own stuff to ensure that you are able to take advantage of these blessings. The bottom line is, if you're having a good amount of living foods, then each of these blessings are available to you. The blessing of the earth is all about having you feel you are trusted, invoking the frequency of trust in you and anchoring you, giving you the confidence to be able to put a stake in the ground and declare what you stand for.
So you also have the mental benefits of
Yes.
physical. It's you're really feeling good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And so mentally, that goes a long way as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And emotionally, you don't react so much if you're earthed. So it's very powerful indeed, having this perfect combination of living foods. And really, all of this is coming from your circadian set points being, synchronized. The fourth blessing that is hidden in living foods is the blessing of the air element. So things like leafy things like salads or lettuce, flowers that you might want to put in it, herbs that you might want to put in your salads. They carry with them quite a big component of the air element. The blessing of the air element always blows away the clutter and gives you focus. Living foods have that impact. Food is medicine. So get that benefit of this blessing of the air element simply by the way you eat. You don't have to have lots of time to process out whatever might be causing clutter or lack of clarity for you. You're going to eat anyway. Have a go at just changing how you eat and what you eat and the rhythm with which you eat. And that in itself, because you receive the blessing of the air element, naturally, clutter disappears, focus returns. So sometimes, for myself, when I've been traveling a lot or speaking to lots of people, in those times, I usually only ever have living foods. And sometimes the easiest way to have living foods when I'm traveling is to say to people, I'm on a liquid fast. So I can have coconut water, or I can just simply have water. Or I can say I can have a plate of fruit, or I can just have some sliced cucumber and lettuce or carrots, cucumber and carrots, and nothing else on them. It's just easier to manage. So by having that living foods, I know what I'm doing is I'm really walking into the room with all of these blessings fully imbued in me. I mean, food from the packet is worse than food that is living that you cook. And it's totally, you don't have to be aggressive to yourself at all. Have it. Just have living foods first.
Now, what about living foods that have been frozen? Like, for example, vegetables like cauliflower, frozen, cauliflower, or, they break it up and then they freeze it. And all. Is that, when it's defrosted, is that considered a living food or no?
A lot depends on how that freezing process takes place also. It is more living than these vegetables that come in a can.
Processed.
Not as living as, not as alive as what you might buy fresh. Sometimes I get asked, what about all the pesticides that are sprayed on these vegetables and stuff like that? They don't actually kill the vegetable. They add a component of stuff that our bodies find difficult to process. But because you land up chewing, sometimes when I'm traveling, I don't know what the source of these vegetables is. Wherever possible, I prefer to either take my own food, or I prefer to stay in a place where food is actually being prepared. But already, there's a tall order of the way I eat that I can't always guarantee that the food is organic. So, and I can't always say that, can you just let me wash my vegetables myself? I can't even do that. I just have to show up and they serve me the meal. Right. So, so I certainly, I stay with, I stay with, yeah, I stay with that, I don't have cooked food at this time. Or I might even say something like, my body is right now, is showing an allergic inflammation to cooked food. So if you can just find a way of getting me vegetables that are just chopped up, that'll be great. And I can deal with it, putting my own salt and oil on it, just get everything to me on the side. I bless my food and I chew a lot. Literally, I swallow my solids, like chew it until it becomes liquid in my mouth and then swallow it. And that helps with so many digestive enzymes. And already it is living food. Then even if it has got pesticides and stuff in it, my own microbiome is so well multiplied, if you like, that it starts to neutralize. And my digestive system is so well awakened that it will only absorb that which is a nutrient to it. My excretory system is very well, oiled, if you like, so that it starts to excrete that which doesn't serve.
It's kind of like if you have a positive mindset and then you encounter some negativity, it kind of just throws it right off,
Yeah.
And we've gotten a comment, something you have been used to is very difficult to change. And so far, if my way of having a simple diet doesn't bother me. Oh.
Yeah. My young grandson is here. So, and it's his birthday coming up. And so there he is.
Hi.
Oh, are you shy?
Which birthday? What number?
Number 6. He's going to be 6.
Oh, wow.
I thought he was 10. He looks like such a big guy.
Volcano crystals on.
Yes, I bought that as a present for you. Because you like crystals, right? Now you can learn all about them.
Yeah, I saw volcano crystals at
Yes.
school.
You did? Okay, now we can go in the book and see what they're about.
But it's less.
Okay, so can I finish my call here and then we'll talk? Okay.
Well, he's the one that's always bringing in all the wisdom, right?
Yeah. He's and his favorite gift that you can give him is crystals.
Oh,
Of course.
So I bought him 3 crystal Bibles and he managed to find them. So he's come to say to me
Download.
that, yeah, and he's like, he goes, oh, is that tourmaline and is that malachite? I'm like, where is he learning from? He clearly cannot read it. That's a complicated word to read, so he can't read it. But he's coming from some remembrance.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yes, yes. So
Oh.
let's continue.
So the rest of the comment was my
Yes.
food is fruits, salads, millet, vegetables, etc., but not in the way you have mentioned. Blessing food only makes my food digested.
Yeah. I mean, this is so true, you know. It is, we have got a habit, and it is also very culturally indoctrinated. You know, it's quite normal and natural in the US, for example, to just have a chopped salad for lunch, and it's fine. In India, you know, there's a tiny amount of salad. I guess it's because of, um, you know, people cooked the vegetables much more because of the pathogens and stuff that might not get destroyed. So it was more of a protective thing. But things have changed in India as well. It does require changing a habit. But I know, Ashaji, how you eat, so it's all really good. And you know, use your blessings, and know when you're eating, when you chew, if you're going to be chewing until you're able to swallow your solids and chew your liquids, then that act of chewing itself, you're developing a beautiful relationship with aliveness as you are ingesting the food that is there on your plate. Let's continue with the other blessings. I don't want to miss those. Then we're also aware of the time. So the 5th blessing is the blessing of the element of water. Now, when you are chewing your food, there's a saliva formation that's there, and the saliva naturally has its own enzymes, but that the act of chewing is creating these wonderful rhythm of ripples. You know, our body is at least 70% water, so you are activating the water element in you. And even for the food that you have chewed and it's become liquid and you're swallowing it, you're working in partnership, collaboratively, co-creating coexistence with the element of water. So water as an element washes away the debris and brings flow. So this act of working with living foods, you bring in much more movement and mobilization of the water element. As a result, a lot of the debris that may be calcification or growth or you know, even cholesterol that might be stuck, any stuckness that may be there starts to get dissolved, and you come back into flow. And this activation of the water element is very important in how the circadian rhythm synchronization with living foods happens. So, I mean, you will know that when you are having salads or chopped vegetables or whatever, you do land up chewing, whether you like it or you don't like it. You do land up chewing. And if you are compromised in terms of your ability to chew, then make sure that you make a smoothie out of it and have that. So at least inside your terrain, you have got good component of living food that is there. Because the water automatically, as a blessing, will get invoked. And this is where I love the blessing of the food. Because even in my act of blessing, even before I have put one morsel in my mouth, I'm preparing and like literally multiplying the blessing of the water element inside me. You know, so as I'm blessing it, I say, you know, I say, I thank all the beings that have come together to make this food available to me on my plate. And I bless all the beings in me and the being of me to receive the perfect nutrition and nourishment this food has to offer. And then I ingest the food, knowing that every morsel activates these 7 blessings at least, and more. So I'm ready to truly heal myself, nurture myself, vitalize myself, energize myself with every morsel of food that I take. And if it's living food, then that is multiplied multifold. The sixth blessing is the blessing of colors. So for that, it is great to choose what your plate looks like. I consciously go for rainbow colors. Now I know, for example, if I'm going somewhere and I'm going to be eating with the people there or eating in a cafe or whatever it might be, that I may not necessarily have all of the rainbow colors. I become very consciously aware of the colors that I am eating. And that's where for me, the safest thing to do is to always say, you know, I do begin my food with raw foods. So whatever is raw, just slice it up and bring that to me. Because I know that in raw foods, there will be more than one color. And then I connect to the quality of the colors. So red, for example, sure, it has an impact on my blood, but as the power in the color red, the power in the color red is the power of forward momentum. It propels you to move forward. The power in the color orange is a remembrance of who you are, your truth. It has the power of self-actualization. The power in the color yellow is dissolving of fear and reigniting an inner warmth, a remembrance of sunlight, sunshine, if you like. But it is dissolving of fear. The power in the color green is the power of returning to the remembrance of the frequency of love. So love is who you are as a human. The power hidden in the color blue is the power of self-expression. The power hidden in purple is a reconnection to your inner wisdom. The power hidden in white is a reconnection to cosmic wisdom. So by consciously having a plate that has got a multitude of colors, you're automatically receiving the blessing of all of those colors. You know, and we proactively destroy them by cooking them, because then everything sort of starts to look similar. But even when you cook, if you have at least a good collection of lightly cooked vegetables with whatever else you may be eating, you at least have the presence of these colors. With living foods, you can dramatically enrich the blessings that are hidden in the colors. Anything that you wish to share or add, David and Helene, to what I've just shared?
Wow, that's just really blowing me away, honestly. You know, how you never think about these kinds of things, you know.
Really.
And because it's all being channeled, if you will. You feel like, you know, you can trust it more because you hear so many things from so many people and nutritionists and people who are, you know, trained in, you know, organic foods and all this kind of thing. You just don't get it like this, like the way you're
Presenting it.
presenting it to me.
Yes, thank you.
Very
for that.
powerful. So we're
Thank
gonna
you.
hear number 7.
Yeah. Well, let me just repeat the colors. They've asked for repeating the colors. So let me do that. So a red is the power of the color red is forward momentum, moving you forward. Orange is remembrance and self-actualization. Yellow is dissolving of fear. Green is
You're very fast.
Green is reconnecting you to love. Blue is self-expression, the power of self-expression. Purple or violet is reconnecting you to inner wisdom. White is all about cosmic, reconnecting you to cosmic wisdom.
Beautiful.
Silver is similar to the cosmic wisdom. So silver reconnects you to cosmic wisdom. What I would say to you in the context of varak, which is like the silver leaf that you find in sweets in India, I went to this very famous store one Diwali time, and I was going to have a whole collection of boxes of sweets. And there's one particular sweet which is made out of cashew, which is one of my favorites, and it had this wonderful silver leaf on each piece of the sweet that was there. And it was very cheap, actually. And I was very aware of the price of silver had gone up like massively. So I said to him, how can this be so cheap? You know, what is the silver that you're putting on these sweets? And he says, well, we don't put silver anymore. It's aluminum. Aluminum. So, you know, I very strongly recommend, unless you are buying the silver leaf and putting it on your sweets in India, don't buy sweets with the silver leaf in it. It is no longer silver leaf. And, you know, so just be aware of that.
Wow.
I was horrified, completely horrified.
Why don't you use that as deodorant?
I know.
Aluminum.
The seventh one, the seventh blessing is huge. It's the blessing of the 4 directions. Plants. If you notice, if you just have a potted plant and you do get sunlight, you will notice there is a movement that takes place in the plant as the day progresses. Because a plant is always absorbing the power of the 4 directions. What is this blessing of the 4 directions that we are blessed with when we are having living foods? The direction of north. The power of north is respect for sovereignty. So respect for sovereignty, you are the sovereign here. The plant is the sovereign. And it's like, it's a beautiful, and this is the reason why sometimes you may be all over the place, and when you eat, you just feel very centered. Well, there is this virtues of the 4 directions you are blessed with those virtues. The virtues of respect for sovereignty, your own sovereignty, and that's the direction of south is about growth. Direction of south is all about growth. And this is having confidence in bringing about your own growth. So the virtue of confidence in you being able to, you know, bring about your own growth is a beautiful blessing to be blessed with from living foods. The East is access to wisdom that is indigenous to you. And wherever you originate from, and whichever land that has got the indigenous wisdom that you may be spending most of your time on. So it like literally gives you the blessing of that connecting to indigenous wisdom. There are several people here who have just come out of my ultimate detox program. And I talked quite a lot about these virtues of the 4 directions. And West is about governance. Governance such that you collaboratively co-create coexistence. That's the power. So, giving you that remembrance of structures, systems, discipline, such that you are a collaborator and co-creator of coexistence is a beautiful virtue that you get blessed with when you engage and ingest living foods. So just understanding these blessings, they are automatically invoked. You don't have to do anything to do with these blessings. Just have living foods in the way I'm sharing, or as much as you possibly can in the way I'm sharing. And you have the benefit of everything that I've shared in terms of these 7 blessings. Over to you to conclude the session.
Wow.
Wow, that was great.
I'm just, really, amazed that, whoever thought about having living foods like that, being so involved with all the elements and the direction and the north, east, south. I mean, who would have ever thought, right? But
I know.
but knowing the connection here,
Yeah.
really, like if you're a spiritual person, you really have to say, wow, this is much more than I thought it was, and maybe we ought to try this way of doing it.
And all we have to do is to have living foods. All of this that I've talked about in this last hour is there for us to have. I've just educated you on what's actually going on.
Mhm.
And you have living foods. We just have to choose to have living foods. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much for that.
And
Thank
we
you.
also
I
have
think
to,
everybody who wasn't on the call tonight really needs to listen to this recording.
right? We also have to watch out how much fruit we eat, right? Because of all the sugar in that.
Well, if all of that is a problem if you are not chewing. But let's say, and having fruits in the form of juices is much harder on our system. But if you are actually having let's say you only eaten fruit up to 12, and then you have a big plate of salad when you have your meals, and you have 2 of those big plates of salads, in the next 2 meals, you're actually invoking all of your digestive enzymes and your as well as the absorption mechanism, the excretion mechanism, all of these blessings that we've talked about, fire and water and air. So it keeps destroying that which doesn't serve you.
Well, I
Keeps
know
doing-
if I start changing, like as I start changing more towards
Yeah.
this way of eating, the way you're suggesting, I am going to
Yeah.
feel very, very blessed.
Yeah. Indeed, right? And then you bless your food to begin with. How much better can it get?
Yeah.
Right. How many
Yeah.
more blessings?
Yeah. And
Thank
you know
you.
what happens when you count your blessings? You're in bliss.
Blessings.
List
Bliss.
out,
Mynoo,
list out.
can I share? You have said about the work, silver work.
Yes.
But what about the golden work? Gold
It's
work.
the same. I don't know
So my father-in-law gave me with this amla morabba when I was having my child, and in the best way to have it in the morning.
Yeah.
We had that.
Yeah, you know,
gold work.
if it is true, if it is real silver and real gold, it's wonderful. Silver is
Yes,
antibacterial,
real
antibiotic.
gold. Yes, yes.
And real gold actually really strengthens your nervous system. I grew up having this Indian gooseberry in the morning, every morning, even as a child. The moment I started chewing as a child, we had to have two of these things in the morning. That's how we began our mornings. And they all had, one had silver and one had gold, but they were real silver and real gold. You know, so gold is the
Yes.
same, it destroys fear. And as an element, as a actual metal, it strengthens your nervous system.
Boy, by the time you get to be like 10 years old, you're worth a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. You know, if it is real silver, and you can get silver leaf and you can get gold leaf. It's just that when you buy stuff from outside, which is made in bulk, they just don't have the margins to provide you with real silver or real gold. That's all. Thank you, Neelamji, for asking and sharing. So let's.
We have that much, so thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh.
I complete our session with
So
gratitude.
amazing. I love
Thank you for
speaking.
hosting.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Namaste.
Have a blessed evening.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
day, so morning.
Hey, yes. It's a big weekend. It's my 6-year-old's birthday. So
Wow. I wonder if he knows, he must know how powerful his grandma is. I'm sure he does, from what I've heard. He must know.
According to him, all humans, if they are able to forget that they are humans, if they are able to forget some of their human habits, they are very powerful.
Ah,
That's
That's what he said.
where did he come? Right? He just dropped down from the heavens. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mynoo. Thank you.
Bye-bye.